Every time you blame your past, your family, your employer, the system, or bad luck, you gain one thing: innocence, and you lose something far more dangerous: power over your next move. Maybe what happened was not your fault. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you started with fewer opportunities. Maybe the conditions were stacked against you from the very beginning. But here is the brutal truth. The moment you use those facts as permission to stop moving, the very thing that hurt you begins controlling your future. So answer this question honestly. When something goes wrong in your life, do you immediately search for the next useful action? Or do you search for the next person or thing to blame? Because blame doesn't need to be false to destroy you. It only needs to convince you that nothing more is required from you. In this video, you will discover how the samurai destroyed the habit of blame and embraced the code of radical responsibility, the ancient discipline that turns every excuse into fuel and every obstacle into power. If you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're done carrying the weight of things you cannot change, then watch this video until the end. Welcome to the path of the warrior. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Illusion of External Fault. Daichi was the most naturally gifted apprentice in the dojo. He learned techniques after seeing them only a few times. His hands were fast, his balance was sharp. His instincts often saved him before discipline became necessary. For years, talent protected him from the consequences of poor preparation. He could arrive late and still perform well. He could avoid repetition and remain impressive. He could make mistakes, recover through speed, and believe that serious preparation was only necessary for slower men. Riku was one of those slower men. He was smaller than Daichi and less naturally gifted. He needed weeks to learn movements Daichi understood in days. But Riku observed carefully. He checked his equipment. He studied the ground. He repeated every movement that had failed. Daichi trusted what he had been given. Riku developed what he lacked. One morning, they were ordered to fight before the dojo. Rain had fallen through the night. The courtyard was wet. Several stones had loosened beneath the mud, and the rising sun entered from the east. Riku walked around the training area before the match. He tested the ground and inspected his wooden sword. Daichi did neither. He looked at Riku and saw a slower opponent. The match began. Daichi attacked quickly. Riku gave him space. Daichi increased the pressure, expecting speed to end the fight. Then his foot landed on wet earth. His balance shifted. Riku stepped into the opening and placed the wooden blade against Daichi's chest. The match was over. Daichi looked down. A crack ran through the handle of his sword. Mud covered his robe. He left the training yard and found Master Ishida sweeping the courtyard behind the dojo. "The match was unfair," Daichi said. "The ground was unstable. My sword was damaged. Riku knew the terrain." Ishida continued sweeping. Daichi waited. The master finally asked, "Did you inspect the sword?" "No." "Did you study the ground?" "No." "Did you underestimate Riku?" Daichi remained silent. Ishida returned to the leaves. "The conditions were real. So were your decisions." Daichi frowned. "So, everything is my fault?" "No," Ishida said. "Fault and responsibility are different." Daichi looked at him. Fault asks who caused the problem. Responsibility asks what must be done now. The rain had caused the ground to become wet. Daichi had not controlled the rain. He may not have caused the crack in the sword. He could not control how carefully Riku had prepared, but Daichi had entered without inspecting his weapon. He had ignored the terrain. He had assumed talent would compensate for carelessness. Ishida looked toward the training yard. The world contains causes you do not control. A warrior studies them without surrendering his response to them. He led Daichi back to the courtyard and handed him another wooden sword. "Strike!" Daichi attacked. Ishida stepped aside. Daichi slipped. "The ground," Daichi said. Again. Daichi moved more carefully. His foot touched a loose stone, and he lost balance. The stone was hidden. Again. Wind carried dust into his eyes. Daichi blinked. Ishida placed the broom against his throat. "Dead." Daichi stepped back. "The conditions are still bad." "Yes." Daichi waited. Ishida pointed toward the wet ground. "What does the ground require?" Daiichi looked down. Shorter steps. The master pointed toward the wind. And the dust? A different angle. He pointed toward the sword. And the weapon? Inspection. Then Ishida pointed toward Daiichi. And your pride? Daiichi said nothing. Examination, the master said. The lesson was not that external conditions did not matter. They mattered enough to study. But Daiichi had been using them as conclusions instead of information. Ishida explained, complaint and assessment may describe the same reality. Their difference is what happens next. Daiichi listened. Complaint says, the ground is bad, and stops. Assessment says, the ground is bad, how must I move? The master picked up the cracked sword. Blame ends investigation. Responsibility begins it. This distinction reached beyond the training yard. An unfair employer may be real. Responsibility does not require pretending otherwise. It asks what action remains. Evidence, negotiation, a new skill, a boundary, or an exit. A destructive family may have caused real wounds. Responsibility does not erase the harm. It asks what recovery now requires. Distance, treatment, boundaries, or new patterns. A weak economy may reduce opportunities. Responsibility does not invent opportunities that do not exist. It studies what is still valuable, what can be learned, what expenses can be reduced, and what risk should be avoided. Ishida said, a fact can explain your position without choosing your direction. That evening, Daiichi replayed the match. This time, he did not begin with the rain. He began with his preparation. He remembered entering without studying the courtyard. He remembered dismissing Riku as slower. He remembered attacking too quickly because he wanted the victory to look easy. His defeat had not begun when his foot slipped. It had begun when he decided preparation was beneath him. The next morning, Ishida found him examining every wooden sword in the storage room. The master watched in silence. Daiichi eventually asked, why does blame feel so convincing? Ishida replied, because it protects identity. How? If the weapon failed, you remain a great swordsman. If the ground defeated you, you remain disciplined. If Riku had an unfair advantage, you do not need to change. Daiichi looked at the sword in his hands. The excuse protects the image, Ishida continued. It also protects the weakness. Before leaving, the master gave him one final instruction. When failure arrives, do not ask only what happened to you. Ask what you failed to see. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Responsibility. The next morning, Ishida handed Daiichi a rusted axe and pointed toward a pile of wet timber. Cut it. Daiichi examined the blade. It is dull. Sharpen it. There is no sharpening stone. Find another surface. Daiichi searched beside the river and found a flat rock. It was rough and inefficient. He worked the blade against it until the edge became usable. Not excellent. Usable. He returned and began cutting. The timber was wet and dense. The axe became trapped after each strike. The handle tore the skin across his palms. Progress was slow. After several hours, Daiichi released the axe. My hands are bleeding. Ishida looked at them. What does that require? Daiichi expected sympathy or criticism. Instead, he examined his grip. Bandaging, a lower grip, a slower pace. Then do that. Daiichi wrapped his hands and continued. After another hour, his shoulders began to fail. I am exhausted. What does that require? Rest? Perhaps, Ishida said, or a different pace. Responsibility is not automatic endurance. It is accurate judgment. Daiichi looked at him. The master continued. Pain may mean stop. It may mean adjust. It may mean recover. It may mean your technique is poor. How do I know? You observe before you obey. That was a deeper lesson than simply enduring discomfort. Blind endurance could damage the body without improving the mind. Immediate surrender could preserve comfort without solving the problem. Responsibility required interpretation. Daiichi pointed to the axe. The tool is still poor. Ishida nodded. Then why continue? Because poor does not mean unusable. The master sat beside the timber. A weak mind divides conditions into perfect and impossible. A trained mind searches for workable. Daiichi returned to the task. The axe was dull. That required sharpening. The timber was wet. That required controlled angles. His hands were damaged. That required protection and a corrected grip. His body was tired. That required pacing. None of these adjustments made the task fair. They made it possible. As Daiichi worked, Ishida explained the principle more carefully. The expression jikosekinin refers to responsibility for one's own actions and consequences. It is not the name of one universal ancient samurai law. Bushido was never a single rulebook followed identically by every warrior in every period. Daiichi continued cutting, then why teach it here? Because every martial discipline faces the same problem. Conditions change, conduct must remain deliberate. A warrior could not control the weather, the enemy's number, the competence of every commander, or the family into which he was born. But he still had to decide how to prepare, stand, and act. Ishida said, "Radical responsibility does not mean everything is your fault. It means lack of fault does not erase agency." Daiichi stopped for a moment. "So even when I did not create the problem, I still need a response." "Yes." "That seems unfair." Responsibility is not a reward for fairness. Daiichi resumed cutting. By nightfall, the timber was finished. Ishida did not praise him. Instead, he asked, "What completed the task?" Daiichi answered, "Not force adjustment." The master nodded. "Remember that. A man obsessed with appearing strong often uses force where perception is required." Several days later, Ishida gave Daiichi 2 buckets and ordered him to fill a stone basin near the temple. One bucket was cracked. After the first journey, Daiichi held it up. "This one leaks." "Yes." "You knew?" "Yes." "Why give it to me?" Ishida looked toward the empty basin. "The crack is part of the problem." Daiichi waited for further explanation. None came. He examined the bucket. He packed cloth into the opening, tied it with bark, and changed the angle at which he carried it. Water still escaped, but less. He returned to the river. Then again. Then again. By nightfall, the basin was full. Ishida inspected it. What solved the problem? "The crack did not disappear," Daiichi said. "I adapted." Did adaptation make the bucket fair? No. Did fairness matter to the basin? No. The master nodded. Fault explains the crack. Responsibility fills the basin. Daiichi sat beside the water. What if someone else caused the crack? Then they may deserve accountability, and if they never accept it. The basin is still empty. Daiichi understood. Justice and responsibility were connected, but they were not identical. Justice asks whether the person who caused harm should answer for it. Responsibility asks what the harmed person must do now to protect, repair, or move forward. Ishida said, "Do not confuse seeking justice with postponing recovery." This applied directly to personal wounds. Knowing who harmed you can matter. Some people need to be confronted. Some situations require legal action, separation, or firm boundaries. But identifying the cause is not the same as building recovery. A verdict can tell you who was wrong. It cannot establish the boundary. It cannot complete treatment. It cannot develop the missing skill. It cannot build the next relationship differently. Daiichi looked at the repaired bucket. So the question must change. From what? From who caused this? To what does repair require? Ishida nodded. Ask both when both matter. But do not let the first question prevent the second. Chapter 3. The Sword of Accountability. At the end of the second week, Ishida led Daiichi to the forest and tied a black cloth over his eyes. "You will walk to the cedar gate," the master said. "How will I see the path?" "You will not." "What if I choose the wrong direction?" "Correct it." "What if I fall?" "Stand." The answers were short because the exercise did not require a lecture. It required attention. Daiichi began slowly, using a wooden sword to test the ground. Roots caught his sandals. Branches touched his face. The surface changed from soil to stone. Within minutes, he walked into a tree. "The path is blocked." "One direction is blocked," Ishida replied. Daiichi changed course. A low branch struck his forehead. "The forest is impossible. The forest is information." Daiichi stopped. "Explain." "A branch tells you to lower your head. A slope tells you to shorten your step. A river tells you to search for a crossing. Daichi continued. This time he stopped interpreting every obstacle as opposition. A root was not an insult. It was a change in the ground. A branch was not unfair. It occupied space. The forest did not care about his plan. It presented conditions. As Daichi adjusted, Ishida spoke from a distance. Blame asks what reality should have been. Responsibility studies what reality is. The shift changed Daichi's attention. When he treated the forest as an enemy, his mind remained occupied with frustration. When he treated it as information, he noticed the direction of the wind, the texture of the earth, the slope beneath his feet, and the sound of open space. Ishida said, "Blame narrows attention around the offender. Responsibility widens attention toward the available move." Daichi reached a stream. The current was stronger than expected. While crossing, he lost the wooden sword. He searched the water. Nothing. "The tool is gone," he said. "What remains?" Ishida asked. Daichi listened. A fallen branch lay near the bank. He broke it to a manageable length and continued. The replacement was heavier and poorly balanced. It was enough. Ishida said, "Responsibility does not promise the ideal response. It searches for the best available response." Near sunset, Daichi's feet hurt. His clothes were wet. No one was close enough to see whether he removed the blindfold. For a moment, he considered doing it. He could say the cloth had loosened. He could claim the path had become unsafe. The explanation would sound believable. Then Ishida's voice came through the trees. "What are you negotiating?" Daichi froze. "I was thinking." "No, you were building permission." Daichi kept the blindfold on. He continued until the branch touched the cedar gate. Ishida was waiting. "What defeated you?" the master asked. "Nothing." "What caused difficulty?" "Many things." "What is the difference?" Daichi thought before answering. Difficulty required adjustment. Defeat required surrender. Ishida nodded. Then he gave Daichi a method to use beyond the forest. 3 steps: fact, control, action. Daichi repeated them: fact, control, action. First, identify what happened without exaggeration. Second, separate what you control from what you do not. Third, choose the next useful action. The master gave him examples. A person insults you. What is the fact? They spoke disrespectfully. What is outside your control? Their character and judgment. What remains yours? My response, boundary, and decision to stay or leave. Ishida continued. A leader makes a poor decision. The decision creates damage. What remains outside you? The leader's mind. What remains yours? Objection, documentation, preparation, adaptation, or exit. The master nodded. Your past created a pattern. The pattern still affects me. What cannot be changed? The original event. What remains possible? Awareness, treatment, boundaries, and different repetition. Ishida said, "This method prevents 2 errors, denial and helplessness." Daichi listened. Denial pretends the obstacle is not real. Helplessness pretends the obstacle controls everything. Responsibility sees the obstacle clearly without giving it total authority. When they returned to the temple, Daichi waited for the master to praise the completed exercise. Ishida remained silent. Daichi eventually asked, "Was it done correctly?" "You reached the gate. What failed?" "I lost the sword." "What did you do?" "I replaced it." "Then study that. Praise adds nothing." The conversation ended. Daichi understood that he had depended not only on excuses, but also on approval. Blame and praise appeared opposite, but both placed his identity outside him. When others criticized him, he felt weak. When others praised him, he felt strong. In both cases, his standard belonged to someone else. Ishida later introduced Zanshin. In martial practice, he said, Zanshin is the readiness that remains after the movement. The fight continues. Perhaps. Perhaps not. Readiness remains because you do not yet know. The movement may end, but awareness does not. You do not celebrate too early. You do not collapse after effort. You do not assume one victory has completed your development. You observe. You correct. You remain ready. Chapter 4. The Death of the Excuse. When Daichi returned to the training yard, Ishida placed the damaged sword from his first defeat before him. Repair it. Daichi replaced the handle, tightened the binding, and inspected the full weapon. Then Ishida called Riku. The conditions remained similar to the first match. The ground was uneven. The light came from the east. Wind moved dust across the courtyard. Nothing had been improved for Daichi. This time he walked around the training area. He tested the wet ground, he inspected the sword. He observed Riku's posture and breathing. Ishida watched. "What are you doing?" the master asked. "Studying what is real. And after that?" "Preparing my response." The match began. Riku attacked quickly. Daichi adjusted his footing before reaching the wet section. When the light entered his eyes, he changed his angle. Riku increased pressure. Daichi did not rush to prove his speed. He waited for information. Riku shifted his weight. Daichi saw the opening and placed the wooden blade against his chest. The match ended. Daichi stepped back and remained attentive. Then he bowed. Ishida approached. "What changed?" "The conditions remained." "And?" "I prepared for them." The master nodded. That was the transformation. It was not dramatic. It was procedural. Real transformation often looks like this. A person does not become fearless. He becomes prepared. He does not become invulnerable. He becomes accurate. He does not stop feeling frustration. He stops treating frustration as a command. Daichi asked, "Does the blaming voice disappear?" "No," Ishida said. "You become better at identifying it." "How?" "Ask 3 questions. Is the thought true? Is it useful? What does it require?" The tool may truly be poor. That may require adaptation. The body may truly be injured. That may require recovery. The environment may truly be dangerous. That may require leaving. The leader may truly be corrupt. That may require evidence, resistance, or exit. But some thoughts merely protect comfort. You are tired. You have suffered enough. Someone else had more help. The timing is not perfect. Ishida said, "A warning describes danger. An excuse removes duty. Learn the difference. This is what must die inside you. Not fear, pain, or anger, but the habit of using them to surrender responsibility. Fear can provide information. Pain can reveal damage. Anger can reveal a violated boundary. None of them should automatically control conduct." Daichi asked, "Is radical responsibility the same as blaming yourself?" "No." "Then what is it?" "Refusing permanent helplessness. It is not accepting responsibility for another person's abuse. It is not remaining in destructive situations. It is not pretending structural problems do not exist. It is not forcing yourself through every pain. It is the refusal to let victimization become your permanent identity. Something may have happened to you without your consent. The rest of your life still requires your participation." Ishida gave Daichi one final exercise. "For one day, speak no complaint before examining it. What should I ask? What happened? What part is outside my control? What part remains mine? What is the next useful action?" Daichi repeated the questions. The next morning, he noticed how often blame appeared in ordinary moments. When his attention broke, he wanted to blame noise. Then he noticed he had entered the room with no plan. When his body felt tired, he wanted to call himself weak. Then he noticed he had slept poorly. When another student ignored his advice, he wanted to call him arrogant. Then he noticed his own explanation had been unclear. Not every problem belonged to him, but almost every moment contained something he could examine. Ishida said, "Do not ask whether one action can repair your entire life. Ask whether it moves you from helplessness toward agency. That is the practical value of Jiko Sekinin, ownership of your actions and their consequences. That is the useful edge of Bushido, conduct that remains deliberate under pressure. That is Zanshin, awareness that continues after action, victory or failure. A warrior does not become powerful by controlling every event. He becomes powerful by refusing to abandon control of his conduct. Your life may contain unfair leaders, broken systems, harmful people. inherited wounds, limited resources, and poor timing, these conditions are real. Study them accurately, respond to them intelligently, but do not make them your commander. An explanation can be correct and still become an excuse. The ground may remain uneven, the tool may remain imperfect, the apology may never arrive. The system may not become fair, your next decision still exists. Inspect the weapon, study the terrain, control the breath, choose the next useful action, and when the mind asks, "Why is this happening to me?" do not remain inside that question longer than necessary. Ask a better one. What does this situation require from me now? Then answer with action. The world may be responsible for the storm. You are responsible for how you move through it.